The station called Harmony 7 floated in the darkness of space like a massive metal flower. Its petals were docking bays, each one large enough to hold 3 warships. Ships from 47 different worlds sat connected to those bays. Some looked like crystals. Others looked like living creatures. A few were just balls of metal with engines attached. Ambassador Day-Wan stood at the window of his transport ship and watched the station grow larger. He was a tall man with gray starting to show in his black hair. His diplomatic uniform was simple and dark blue. Behind him 4 people stood quietly. They wore the same uniform, but theirs had small silver badges on the shoulders. "First time seeing something like this?" asked Min-Soo. He was the leader of Daiwan's security team. Min-Soo was shorter than the ambassador, with a calm face that rarely showed emotion. "It's bigger than I expected," Daewon said. "How are you feeling about this?" Min-Soo smiled just a little. "We'll be fine, sir. It's just another day at work." The other 3 guards stood behind Min-Soo. Hyojin was a woman with sharp eyes that seemed to notice everything. Jae-young was the tallest of the group, with wide shoulders and large hands. Sun-hee was small and quiet, but she moved with a strange grace like water flowing. The ship docked with a soft thump. The door opened with a hiss. Beyond it, the station's air smelled different, cleaner, more processed. A creature waited for them at the end of the docking tunnel. It stood on 6 legs and had a body covered in shiny black armor. Its head had multiple eyes that moved independently of each other. This was Thralex, the chief of security for the Galactic Council. "Ambassador Day-Wan," Thralex's voice came from a translator device on his chest. "Welcome to Harmony 7. I am Thralex. Before you can enter, we must conduct security procedures." "Of course," Day-Wan said. He walked forward calmly. Thralex gestured with one of his front legs. "Please stand in the scanning field." A blue light appeared in the air. Day-Wan walked through it. The light made a soft beeping sound, then turned green. "Clear," said one of Thralex's assistants. "A floating jellyfish-like creature." Min-Soo stepped forward next. The blue light scanned him. Green. Then Hyojin. Green. Then Jae-young. Green. Finally, Sun-hee. Green. Thralex's eyes all focused on the same point. He looked confused. "Scan them again," he ordered. The blue light appeared once more. It scanned all 4 guards carefully. Again, all green. "This is incorrect," Thralex said. He moved closer to Min-Soo, his multiple eyes examining him. "You are security personnel, correct?" "Yes, sir," Min-Soo said politely. "Where are your weapons?" "We don't carry weapons, sir." All of Thralex's eyes blinked at once. "That is impossible. All security personnel carry weapons. It is standard procedure across all member species." "Not for humans," Min-Soo said. His voice was calm and friendly. Thralex turned to Ambassador Day-Wan. "Surely this is an error, or perhaps a cultural misunderstanding. Your guards cannot enter a diplomatic session without proper equipment." Day-Wan smiled. "I assure you, Chief Thralex, there is no error. Our guards don't need weapons. They are the weapons." A strange sound came from Thralex. It might have been laughter. It was hard to tell with the translator. "Ambassador, I appreciate human confidence, but I cannot allow unarmed personnel to serve as security in the council chambers. The risks are too great." "I understand your concern," Day-Wan said, "but I promise you my team is more than capable." Down the corridor, other delegations were arriving. A group of tall, 4-armed creatures walked past. Each one carried a massive rifle that glowed with blue energy. Their guards wore armor that looked like it could survive a bomb. Another group followed. These were covered in scales and walked on 2 legs like reptiles. Their guards had weapons built into their arms. Metal and flesh merged together. Thralex gestured at them. "Look at proper security. Weapons, armor, defense fields, this is standard." Min-Soo watched the other guards carefully. "Impressive equipment," he said. "And you have nothing," Thralex said. "I must insist on additional scanning. You must be hiding something." For the next 20 minutes, Thralex's team scanned the human guards with every device available. They used X-rays. They used thermal imaging. They used quantum field detectors. Every scan came back the same. The humans had no weapons, no hidden devices, no cybernetic implants, no genetic modifications. They were just human. This is highly irregular, Threlix muttered. I will need to report this to the council. Please do, Day One said. In the meantime, may we enter? Threlix's eyes showed his uncertainty. Finally, he stepped aside. Very well. But your guards will be monitored closely. The human delegation walked into the main station. The corridor was enormous. The ceiling was so high that clouds formed near the top. Buildings lined the sides, each one representing a different species. Creatures of every shape and size walked past them. Some flew, some crawled, some seemed to float. Stay close, Minsu said quietly to his team. His eyes moved constantly, tracking every movement around them. They reached the grand chamber where the negotiations would take place. The room was circular and huge. 47 seats were arranged in a ring, each one designed for a different species. In the center was a raised platform where ambassadors would speak. As the humans entered, many eyes turned to look at them. Whispers filled the air. The translator devices caught fragments. Those are the humans? They look so weak. I heard they come from a dangerous world, but look at them. Their guards have no weapons. How primitive. A large creature stood up from one of the seats. It was covered in gray skin like stone. Its eyes were red. This was Grunoth, a war chief from the Korthan Empire. The Korthans wanted the same resources humanity was negotiating for. Humans, Grunoth's voice boomed across the chamber. Welcome to the council. I see you have brought children to protect you. He laughed. It sounded like rocks grinding together. Other delegates laughed too, though some looked uncomfortable. Daewon walked to his assigned seat calmly. Thank you for the welcome, War Chief. We look forward to productive negotiations. Negotiations? Grunoth said the word like it tasted bad. Yes. We shall see how long your people can negotiate. This station can be dangerous for those who are unprotected. It was not a subtle threat. Minsu and his team took their positions around Daewon's seat. They stood relaxed, hands at their sides. But their eyes never stopped moving. They watched every entrance, every delegate, every guard. A reptilian delegate named Vextra stood up. She was covered in green scales and wore elaborate robes. Before we begin, I must address a concern. The human delegation has brought security personnel with no visible means of protection. This violates the spirit of council security protocols. Our guards meet all requirements, Daewon said calmly. They passed your security scans. Because they have nothing to scan, Vextra said. This is either arrogance or foolishness. Which is it, Ambassador? Daewon looked at her directly. Neither, Counselor. It is simply our way. Your way will get you killed, Grunoth said. He gestured to his own guards. These warriors could tear your security team apart in seconds. Minsu spoke up for the first time. Perhaps, but respectfully, War Chief, I doubt it. The chamber fell silent. Several delegates made sounds of shock. Grunoth's red eyes focused on Minsu. You dare challenge Korthan warriors? Not a challenge, sir, Minsu said. His voice remained polite. Just an observation. We shall see, Grunoth said slowly. Yes, we shall see. The session began. Ambassadors spoke about mining rights, trade routes, and territorial boundaries. The discussions were complex and boring. Hours passed. But Minsu and his team never relaxed. They stood like statues, but their eyes were always moving. They noticed which guards carried weapons where, which exits were closest, which delegates seemed nervous. Threlix watched them from his security station. He studied the camera feeds, trying to understand what made these humans think they could survive without weapons. They looked soft, weak. Their bodies had no natural armor, no claws, no fangs, but something about the way they stood made him uneasy. They moved with a strange efficiency. When Sun-Hee shifted her weight, it was perfectly balanced. When Jae-Young turned his head, His eyes had already planned the movement. When Hyojin breathed, it was controlled and measured. These were not random movements. This was training. The first day of negotiations ended without incident. As the delegates left, Grunoth walked past the human guards. He stopped next to Minsu. 3 days, Grunoth said quietly. In 3 days there will be a demonstration, a training exercise. It would be interesting to see how human guards compare to real warriors. We look forward to it, Minsu said. Grunoth smiled. His teeth were like knives. I'm sure you do. As the Korthan war chief walked away, Hyojin whispered to Minsu. That was a challenge. I know, Minsu said. He wants to embarrass us in front of the council. I know. So what do we do? Minsu smiled slightly. We show them what humans can do. 3 days passed slowly on Harmony 7. The negotiations continued hour after hour. Different species argued about resources and borders. Ambassador Daewon spoke carefully, making Earth's case. The council listened, but many still doubted humanity. On the third evening, an announcement echoed through the station. All delegates are invited to observe a training demonstration by the Korthan Empire. The event will take place in Arena 7 in 1 standard hour. Minsu was standing guard when he heard it. He exchanged looks with his team. They all knew what this meant. It's the challenge, Jae-young said quietly. Of course it is, Hyojin added. Grunoth wants to make a show of us. Ambassador Daewon walked over to them. You don't have to accept. We can decline politely. Say it's not our tradition. Minsu shook his head. If we decline, the council will think we're afraid. That we were bluffing about not needing weapons. And were you? Daewon asked with a small smile. No, sir, Minsu said. We weren't. The arena was inside the station, a massive circular room with seats rising up on all sides. Hundreds of delegates from dozens of species filled those seats. The floor of the arena was flat and made of some kind of dark metal. Grunoth stood in the center, his arms spread wide. Welcome, honored delegates. Tonight, the Korthan Empire will demonstrate our combat superiority. We have trained since birth to be the galaxy's finest warriors. 4 Korthan soldiers marched into the arena. They were even bigger than Grunoth, each one at least 8 feet tall. Their gray skin looked like stone. Armor plates were attached to their bodies. When they moved, servos whined softly. The armor made them stronger. These are our elite guards, Grunoth continued, trained in 17 forms of combat, enhanced with military-grade cybernetics, equipped with the finest non-lethal weapons available. Each Korthan soldier carried a staff that crackled with blue energy. One hit from those staffs would stun a creature for hours. And now, Grunoth turned to look at where the humans sat. I invite the human delegation to send their guards. Let us see if they are truly as capable as they claim. All eyes in the arena turned to Minsu and his team. Thralex, watching from a security booth, clicked his mandibles nervously. This is unwise. The humans will be hurt, perhaps killed. The match has safety protocols, his assistant said. Non-lethal weapons only. The Korthans are still 3 times their size and heavily augmented. This is not fair. On the arena floor, Minsu stood up. We accept, he called out. Excited sounds filled the arena. Delegates leaned forward in their seats. The 4 human guards walked down to the arena floor. Next to the Korthan warriors, they looked tiny. Minsu stood at just under 6 feet. The Korthans towered over him. The rules are simple, Grunoth announced. Non-lethal force only. Fight until one team cannot continue. Medical teams are standing by. Begin when the signal sounds. Minsu gathered his team in a small circle. Standard dispersal pattern. Hyojin, you take left. Jae-young, right? Sun-hee, center support. I'll control the flow. Understood, they said together. The Korthan warriors laughed. One of them said something in their language. The translator caught it. Look at them planning. Like children playing soldier. A loud tone echoed through the arena. The match had begun. The Korthan warriors charged forward immediately. They moved fast despite their size. The energy staffs hummed as they swung toward the humans. What happened next made the entire arena go silent. The first Korthan swung his staff at Hyojin. It should have hit her easily. Instead, she moved. Not jumped. Not dodged. Just moved. Her body shifted like water and the staff passed through empty air. Before the Korthan could recover, Hyojin grabbed his arm. She twisted, used his own momentum. The 8-foot warrior flipped over her shoulder and crashed into the arena floor with a sound like thunder. The arena erupted in shocked sounds. The second Korthan went for Jae-young. He brought his staff down in a powerful overhead strike. Jae-young didn't move away. He stepped forward inside the weapon's reach. His palm struck the Korthan's elbow. It looked like a light tap. The Korthan's arm went limp. The staff clattered to the ground. Another strike to the warrior's knee. A third to his neck. The Korthan collapsed. Total time, 4 seconds. What are they doing? A delegate shouted. How are they moving like that? Another called out. The third Korthan tried to be smart. He kept his distance, jabbing with his staff. Sunhee circled him calmly. She watched his feet, his hips, his shoulders. When he thrust forward, she was already moving. She caught the staff with one hand, pulled him off balance, and kicked his knee from the side. Something crunched. The Korthan fell. The last Korthan, seeing his team down, rushed at Minsu with fury. Minsu stood still, watching. The Korthan swung his staff in a wide arc. Minsu ducked under it easily. The staff came back from the other side. Minsu leaned back. The staff missed by inches. The Korthan growled and thrust forward. Finally, Minsu moved. He sidestepped, grabbed the staff, and pulled. The Korthan stumbled forward. Minsu's foot was already there. The warrior tripped. As he fell, Minsu's elbow came down on the back of his neck. Not hard enough to seriously hurt. Just hard enough to stun. The Korthan hit the ground and didn't get up. Total time for all 4 warriors. 1 minute and 47 seconds. The arena was completely silent. Minsu and his team stood in the center, breathing a bit harder but otherwise fine. They weren't even sweating much. Grunath stood frozen, his mouth open. Thrylek stood up in his booth. Replay the footage, he ordered. All angles. Slow motion. The fight played again on screens around the arena. This time everyone could see exactly what happened. The humans moved with impossible precision. Every step was calculated. Every strike hit exactly where it needed to. They used the Korthan's strength against them, turned their size into a disadvantage. They have cybernetic enhancements, Vextra said. They must. No organic being can move like that. Thralex pulled up the medical scans from when the humans first arrived. No enhancements. No modifications. They're completely baseline. That's impossible, someone said. Scan them again, Vextra demanded. Now in the arena. Medical drones flew down and scanned all 4 human guards. The results appeared on the screens. No cybernetics, no genetic modifications, no chemical enhancers, just normal human biology. I don't understand, Threlix said quietly. How? Ambassador Daewon stood up in his seat. May I address the council? Grunath, still shocked, nodded weakly. Daewon walked down to the arena floor. He stood next to his guards. What you witnessed is the result of training. My guards have studied various human martial arts since childhood. They practice every day. Their bodies know these movements the way you know how to breathe. Martial arts? Vextra asked. What are these? Systems of combat, Daewon explained. Humans have been developing them for thousands of years. Every culture on Earth has its own methods. Some focus on striking, some focus on grappling, some use weapons, some use only the body. But why? Asked a small, furry delegate. Why would you need so many different ways to fight? Daewon paused. Because we've been fighting each other for our entire history. Before we had guns or bombs, we had fists. We had to become very, very good at using them. The arena remained quiet as everyone absorbed this information. Your people fight each other? Vextra asked. As a species? We used to, Daewon said. We still do sometimes. But we're working on it. These martial arts are part of our culture now. Some people practice them for fitness, some for discipline, some for sport, and some, like my guards, practice them to protect others. Grunath finally found his voice. Your guards defeated my warriors without weapons, without armor, without enhancements. Yes, Minsu said simply. How much training does this require? I've been training for 23 years, Minsu said. Hyojin for 19, Jae-young for 21, Sunhee for 25. 25 years, Thralik said. She has trained for 25 years? Sunhee nodded. I started when I was 5 years old. 5? Several delegates repeated. It's common on Earth, Daewon explained. Many children learn some form of martial arts. It teaches discipline, respect, and self-control. A delegate from the avian species stood up. Her name was Pelmara. She was a historian.
Ambassador, I need to understand this clearly.
Are you saying that all humans have this capability? To varying degrees, Daewon said. My guards are specialists. They've dedicated their lives to this. But most humans know at least basic self-defense. It's part of growing up. Pelmara's feathers ruffled in distress. This is concerning. If what you say is true, then every human is potentially a weapon. We prefer to think of it as every human being capable of defending themselves and others, Daewon said gently. Grunath walked over to Minsu. The human stood calmly, even though the Korthan was twice his size. You could have hurt my warriors badly. Why did you hold back? Because they weren't our enemies, Minsu said. They were competitors in a match. There's a difference. You showed mercy. We showed restraint, Minsu corrected. There's a difference in that too. Grunath stared at him for a long moment. Then slowly he bowed his head. It was a gesture of respect. I was wrong about humans. I apologize. No apology needed, Minsu said. It was a good fight. In his booth, Thralix was going through Earth's database. The more he read, the more his concern grew. The next morning, Ambassador Daewon was summoned to a special session. The council wanted answers. When he arrived at the chamber, he found it arranged differently. Instead of all 47 delegates, only the senior counselors were present. Vextra sat at the center, her green scales gleaming under the lights. Ambassador Daewon, she said formally, the council requires clarification about yesterday's demonstration. I'm happy to provide whatever information you need, Daewon said. Thralix stepped forward. We have reviewed the footage extensively. We have consulted with military experts from 17 different species. None of them can explain how your guards defeated enhanced Korthan warriors so easily. It's as I explained, Daewon said. Training, technique, experience. That is insufficient, Vexitra said sharply. We need details. How long have humans possessed these combat abilities? Are they genetic? Are they taught? Daewon took a breath. Counselors, perhaps I should provide context. May I access the display system? Vextra nodded. Daewon activated a holographic display in the center of the room. Earth appeared, rotating slowly. This is our homeworld. What you need to understand is that Earth is what we call a high-pressure environment. It has more gravity than most habitable worlds, more oxygen, more dangerous weather, and more predators. Images appeared of various Earth animals: lions, bears, crocodiles, sharks, wolves. These are just a few of the creatures humans evolved alongside. Daewon continued. For millions of years we were prey. We had no natural armor, no claws, no venom. We were slow compared to many animals, weak compared to others. So how did you survive? Asked a counselor with tentacles. We learned, Daewon said simply. We used tools. We worked together. And we trained our bodies to do what nature didn't give us. More images appeared. Humans running long distances. Humans climbing. Humans swimming. Humans throwing spears. We became persistence hunters, Daewon explained. We would chase prey for hours, sometimes days, until it collapsed from exhaustion. We couldn't outrun an antelope in a sprint, but we could keep going long after it gave up. This is remarkable, Pelmara said. She had been taking notes constantly. But it doesn't explain the combat skills we witnessed. I'm getting to that, Daewon said. The display changed to show human history. About 10,000 years ago, we developed agriculture. We formed permanent settlements, cities, civilizations, and then we started fighting each other for those cities. The display showed armies clashing, swords and shields, bows and arrows. For our entire recorded history, humans have been at war, Daewon said quietly. With ourselves, with our neighbors, sometimes with the whole world. We've fought over land, resources, religion, politics. Every generation has known conflict. That's horrifying, whispered a delegate. Yes, Daewon agreed. It is. But from that horror came innovation. We became very good at fighting because we had to. Those who couldn't fight didn't survive. Those who could pass their knowledge to the next generation. The display now showed different martial arts. Practitioners in white uniforms kicking high, wrestlers grappling on mats, boxers in a ring. Every human culture developed its own fighting system, Daewon explained. Some focused on striking with hands and feet. Others focused on grappling and throws. Some used weapons, Some used everything. He pulled up a list. Here are just a few examples. Taekwondo from Korea, which emphasizes powerful kicks. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, which focuses on ground fighting. Muay Thai from Thailand, known as the art of 8 limbs. Krav Maga from Israel, designed for real combat situations. Boxing, wrestling, judo, karate, kung fu, sambo, sistema. Stop, Vextra said. How many are there? Hundreds, Daewon said. Maybe thousands if you count regional variations. And that's just the formalized systems. There are also military combat methods that aren't publicly taught. The room fell silent as the counselors absorbed this information. Pelmara stood up. Ambassador, I've been researching Earth's history since yesterday. May I share what I've found? Please, Daewon said. Pelmara activated her own display. Human history is unlike anything we've seen in the galaxy. Let me provide some statistics. In the last 3,000 years, Earth has been completely at peace for less than 200 years total. Some regions have never known lasting peace. More images appeared. Battlefields, soldiers, weapons. Humans have fought approximately 15,000 major wars in recorded history, Pelmara continued. The deadliest of these killed over 50 million people, and this was before you had space travel. This was just humans fighting humans. We're not proud of that, Daewon said softly. I'm not finished, Pelmara said. What's truly remarkable is what you did with all that violence. You studied it. You refined it. You turned killing into an art form, and then incredibly you turned that art form into a sport, into entertainment, into education. She pulled up footage of human activities, children learning martial arts in schools, professional fighters in competitions, military training exercises. On most worlds, Pelmara explained to the other counselors, when a species develops weapons, they stop training their bodies. Why strengthen your arms when you have a gun? Why learn to grapple when you have energy shields? But humans did both. They kept developing physical combat methods even after they invented firearms. Because we enjoy it, Daewon said. And because we learned that technology can fail. A gun can jam. A battery can die. But the skills in your body are always with you. Threlix clicked his mandibles nervously. Ambassador, I need to ask a difficult question. If all humans have this training, why don't you conquer the galaxy? You could defeat most species in hand-to-hand combat. Because we don't want to, Daewon said simply. We've seen where that leads. We've fought ourselves nearly to extinction several times. We learned slowly and painfully that cooperation is better than conquest. But the capability is there, Vextra said. Every human is a potential weapon. Every being is a potential weapon, Daewon countered. The question is whether they choose to use violence or restraint. A small delegate from a peaceful species spoke up timidly. But your people choose violence often, don't they? You said you've had 15,000 wars. In our past, yes, Daewon admitted. We're trying to do better. That's why we're here. To join the galactic community. To learn from species that found peace earlier than we did. Pelmara was still studying her data. There's something else that concerns me. Earth has multiple species of large predators. Bears that can weigh 800 pounds. Sharks with thousands of teeth. Crocodiles that can bite with tremendous force. And yet humans survived. Thrived. Eventually became the dominant species. How? Because we're persistent, Daewon said. And because we remember. If a bear killed someone in our tribe, we learned from it. We figured out how to avoid bears. How to fight them if necessary. We passed that knowledge down. Every generation got smarter, more skilled. Your brain's adapted to constant threat, Pelmara said. You can process combat situations faster than most species. Your reaction time is exceptional. Your pattern recognition is highly developed. Is this true? Vextra asked Daewon. I suppose so, Daewon said. We've never thought of it as special. It's just how we are. Thralex brought up medical scans of the human guards. Look at their bone density, their muscle fiber composition, their cardiovascular efficiency. These are not the bodies of a peaceful species. Earth's gravity is high, Daewon explained. Our bodies had to adapt. Everything on Earth is built stronger because it has to be. Show them the other animals, Pelmara said quietly. Daewon hesitated, then pulled up more images. These are some of Earth's smaller creatures. This is a honey badger. It weighs about 30 pounds but will fight animals 10 times its size. This is a wolverine. Similar temperament. This is a mantis shrimp which can punch with the force of a bullet. Your entire planet is like this? Asked a counselor. Earth is a competitive environment, Daewon said. Everything there had to evolve to fight or die. Humans are no different. We're just the species that learned to use tools and work together. Vextra stood up and walked closer to Daewon. Ambassador, you're asking us to welcome a species of warriors into our peaceful council. How can we trust that you won't turn on us? Because we know the cost of war, Daewon said. We've paid it over and over. Our last global conflict killed over 60 million people. We swore it would never happen again. We created global governments. We focused on exploration instead of conquest. We're here because we want to join the galaxy, not fight it. But you could fight it if you wanted, Vextra said. So could any species, Daewon replied. The Korthans have powerful military forces. The Vrelians have advanced weapons. The difference is that we're being honest about our capabilities. We're not hiding what we are. Pelmara was reading something on her datapad. Her feathers suddenly puffed up in alarm. Oh no, what is it? Vextra asked. I've been researching human special forces, Pelmara said. These are your elite military units, correct? Correct, Daewon said carefully. The guards we saw yesterday. The ones who defeated the Korthans. What is their classification in human military? They're not military, Daewon said. They're civilians. Diplomatic security. The room went silent. Civilians, Vextra repeated slowly. Yes, they have military training. 7 days had passed since the arena demonstration. The council had resumed negotiations after their 2-day break. Many delegates seemed more cautious around the humans now, but the talks were going well. Ambassador Daewon believed they would reach an agreement soon. The morning session on the 7th day was routine. Various species discussed shipping routes and trade agreements. It was boring but necessary work. Minsu and his team stood at their usual positions, alert but relaxed. Then the lights went out. Emergency lighting activated immediately, bathing the chamber in red. Alarm sirens started wailing. Delegates began shouting in confusion. Everyone stay calm. Thralex's voice came over the speakers. This is a security incident. Remain in your seats. But before anyone could respond, the main doors to the chamber exploded inward. 12 figures rushed through the smoke. They wore dark armor and carried weapons, rifles, energy pistols, grenades. Their faces were hidden behind helmets. Nobody move, one of them shouted. His voice was disguised by a modulator. Several delegates screamed. Others tried to run. The mercenaries fired into the air, making them stop. Minsu's hand moved to his earpiece. Secure the ambassador, he said quietly. His team moved instantly. Sunhee and Jae Young positioned themselves in front of Daewon. Hyojin scanned the room, counting threats and exits. Minsu stayed mobile, ready to react to any immediate danger. Who are you? Vextra demanded. This is the Galactic Council. You cannot... One of the mercenaries pointed his weapon at her. We can do whatever we want. Council security is disabled. Help won't arrive for at least 2 minutes. 2 minutes is a long time, the leader said. He was looking around the chamber. His weapon swung from delegate to delegate. A lot can happen in 2 minutes. In his security booth, Thralex was frantically trying to restore systems. They've hacked everything. Doors, cameras, defense systems, all offline. How long until we get forces inside? His assistant asked. 90 seconds, maybe less. Many will be dead by then. Thralex's eyes found the human guards on one of the few working cameras. They stood perfectly still, but he could see the tension in their bodies. They were ready. In the chamber, the mercenary leader was walking slowly down the aisles. We have a message for the council. You've become weak. You welcome anyone now, even predators. He stopped in front of the human delegation. Especially predators, he said. Looking at Daewon, Minsu shifted slightly, putting himself between the mercenary and the ambassador. Ah, the famous human guards, the mercenary leader said. The ones who fight without weapons. Let's see how that works out. He aimed his rifle at Daewon. Time seemed to slow down. Minsu saw the mercenary's finger tighten on the trigger. He saw the angle of the weapon. He calculated distance, timing, movement, all in less than a second. He moved. His hand struck the rifle barrel, pushing it away just as it fired. The energy bolt went wide, hitting the ceiling. Before the mercenary could react, Minsu's other hand grabbed his wrist and twisted. The rifle fell. An elbow to the face. The mercenary stumbled back, but there were 11 more. Shoot them, the leader shouted, clutching his broken nose. 3 mercenaries opened fire on the humans, but Jae Young was already moving. He grabbed the nearest seat and pulled it up as a shield. Energy bolt struck it. It sparked and smoked but held. He threw it at the shooters, making them dodge. Hyojin ran low and fast. She reached the first mercenary before he could adjust his aim. A kick to his knee. He dropped. She caught his weapon as it fell, twisted it out of his hands, and struck him with it. She didn't fire it, just used it as a club. Sun-hee moved like a ghost. She was suddenly behind a mercenary who never saw her coming. She kicked the back of his leg, making him kneel. Her hand struck a nerve cluster in his neck. He collapsed. The chamber erupted into chaos. Delegates were running, screaming, trying to hide. Some were caught in the crossfire. A bolt hit a Vrelian delegate. He fell unconscious. Protect the civilians, Min-soo shouted to his team. The 4 human guards moved with perfect coordination. They didn't have a plan discussed beforehand. They didn't need one. Years of training together meant they knew what each other would do. Jae Young positioned himself near a group of smaller delegates. A mercenary tried to shoot past him. Jae Young moved into the line of fire, taking the hit on his shoulder. His uniform smoked and he grunted in pain, but he stayed standing. The mercenary came closer to finish him. Jae Young's fist caught him in the throat. The mercenary went down gasping. Hyojin was using the environment. She kicked weapons out of hands. Threw equipment at mercenaries to distract them. She moved constantly, never staying in one place. 3 mercenaries tried to corner her. She went up, jumping onto a seat, then launching herself at them. Her feet caught one in the chest. As she landed, she swept the legs of another. Sun-hee was protecting the wounded Vrelian delegate. 2 mercenaries were advancing on them. Sun-hee stood calmly between them and the injured diplomat. "Move or die," one mercenary said. Sun-hee didn't move. He fired. She twisted and the bolt passed by her. She closed the distance in 3 steps. Her hands moved in a blur. Strikes to the wrist, the elbow, the shoulder. The mercenary's arm went limp. His weapon clattered away. The second mercenary tried to grab her from behind. She dropped low, grabbed his leg, and pulled. He fell hard. Her elbow came down on his chest, knocking the wind out of him. Min-soo was everywhere at once. He moved from threat to threat, disabling weapons, disarming mercenaries, protecting delegates. A bolt grazed his arm. He ignored it. Another hit his leg. He stumbled but kept moving. The mercenary leader was backing toward the exit, firing wildly. "Kill the humans! Kill them all!" But his team was falling. One by one, the human guards were taking them down. Not killing them, disabling them, making them unable to fight. Grunath, the Korthan war chief, watched in amazement from where he'd taken cover. "Impossible," he whispered. "They're outnumbered and outgunned, and they're winning." Pelmara was recording everything on her datapad, her wings trembling. "Their pattern recognition. They're predicting the attacks, seeing where the weapons will point before they point there." Thralex watched the cameras in his booth. 30 seconds had passed. The human guards had taken down 8 of the 12 mercenaries. They'd protected dozens of delegates. They'd done it without killing anyone. "They're not warriors," he said quietly. "They're guardians. There's a difference." The remaining 4 mercenaries, including the leader, realized they were losing. They ran for the exit. But the doors had been locked by Thralex's team. They were trapped. "Surrender," Min-soo said. His voice was calm despite his injuries. "It's over," the mercenary leader laughed. It sounded slightly hysterical. "It's not over. This was just the message. You don't belong here, humans. You're too dangerous." He reached for something on his belt. "A grenade, no!" Several delegates shouted. Min-soo was already moving. He crossed the distance in seconds. His hand caught the mercenary's wrist before the grenade could be armed. He squeezed. The mercenary cried out and dropped it. Min-soo caught it with his other hand and carefully set it aside. Then he punched the mercenary once precisely in the solar plexus. The leader collapsed, gasping for air. The remaining 3 mercenaries dropped their weapons and raised their hands. At that moment, the main doors burst open. Council security forces poured in, weapons ready. "Secure the area," Thralex ordered, arriving with them. He looked around the chamber. 8 mercenaries unconscious on the floor. 4 more surrendering. Dozens of delegates safe. A few injured but alive. And 4 human guards standing among the chaos, breathing hard, bleeding from minor wounds but still ready to fight if needed. Thralex approached Min-soo. "Are you hurt?" "Nothing serious," Min-soo said. He looked at his team. Status? Bruised but functional, Jae Young reported. His shoulder was burned where the energy bolt had hit. Same, Hyojin said. She had a cut above her eye. I'm fine, Sun Hee said, though she was favoring one leg. Medical teams rushed in to help the injured delegates. The human guards directed them to the worst casualties first, even though they themselves needed treatment. Vexitra approached on shaking legs. You saved us. All of us. It's our job, Minsu said simply. Your job, she repeated. She looked at the unconscious mercenaries. You could have killed them. You had the opportunity.
Why didn't you?
Because that's not what Guardians do, Minsu said. We protect. We don't execute. Ambassador Daewon came over, having stayed down during the fight as instructed. Is everyone all right? We're fine, sir, Minsu said. Threlex was interrogating the mercenary leader who was now restrained. Who hired you? Why did you attack the council? The mercenary laughed bitterly. You'll find out soon enough. This was just the beginning. The council is rotting from inside, letting in species that don't belong. Species that are too dangerous. You mean humans, Thralex said. Among others. You're changing too fast. Accepting anyone. Standards are falling. So you hired mercenaries to kill delegates? To send a message. To show that the council is weak. You failed, Thralex said. The only thing you showed is that our newest members are stronger than you expected. Pelmara was reviewing the footage from her datapad. 34 seconds, she said in awe. From the first shot to the last mercenary down. 34 seconds. Other delegates were gathering around the human. The council chamber looked different now. Repair crews had fixed the damaged doors. Cleanup teams had removed all traces of the attack. But everyone who sat in that chamber remembered what had happened. The delegates kept glancing at the spots where mercenaries had fallen, where they thought they might die. Ambassador Daewon sat in his assigned seat. His guards stood behind him, freshly bandaged but at attention. Medical teams had wanted them to rest, but Minsu had refused. Not until the ambassador is safe and the session is complete, he'd said. Vextra called the session to order. Her voice was different now, less cold. Before we resume treaty negotiations, the council must address what happened today.
Security Chief Threlex, please present your findings. Threlex stepped forward.
We have interrogated all 12 mercenaries. They were hired by a group calling itself the Purge Collective. This group believes the council has become too inclusive. They particularly oppose the admission of what they call predator species. Murmurs filled the chamber. Some delegates looked angry. Others looked scared. We have identified several members of the Purge Collective who hold positions within the council itself. Thralex continued. They have been arrested. Among them is Councillor Vorek of the Mantic species. More shocked sounds. Vorek had been a respected member of the council for years. Their plan was to create an incident that would make humans appear dangerous, Thralex said. They believed that if humans responded with lethal force, it would prove their point. That humans are too violent for the council. But that's not what happened, Grunath spoke up. The humans protected us.
Disabled the attackers without killing them.
They showed remarkable restraint. Indeed, Thralex agreed. If anything, this incident proved the opposite of what the Purge Collective intended. It showed that humans, despite their combat capabilities, choose protection over violence. Vextra stood. I must confess something to this council. Before today, I was one of the skeptics. I believed humans were too dangerous, too violent, too unpredictable. She looked directly at Daewon. I was wrong, and I apologize, Ambassador. Daewon stood and bowed slightly. Thank you, Counselor. I understand your concerns. We've given the galaxy many reasons to fear us based on our history. But history is not destiny, Vextra said. What matters is what you choose to do now. And today you chose to save lives, even the lives of those attacking you. Pelmara stood next, her feathers arranged in a respectful pattern. I have completed my analysis of human culture. May I share my findings with the council? Please do, Vextra said. Pelmara activated the main display. Images of Earth appeared. Cities, forests, oceans, people. Humanity is unique among known species, Pelmara began. They come from a world that is, by galactic standards, extremely dangerous. High gravity, aggressive weather, countless predators. They evolved not as the strongest species, but as the most adaptable. She showed images of humans in different environments: deserts, mountains, frozen tundra, jungles. Humans can survive almost anywhere. But what's remarkable is not their physical capability, it's their psychology. New images appeared: humans helping each other, rescuing animals, building communities. Despite their violent history, humans have an extraordinary capacity for empathy and cooperation. They form bonds across genetic lines. They adopt children who aren't related to them. They rescue animals from other species. They help strangers without expecting reward. This is common among social species, someone said. Not to this degree, Pelmara countered. Humans will risk their lives for complete strangers. They have a concept they call heroes, individuals who sacrifice themselves for others. This is celebrated in their culture. It's what children aspire to be. She pulled up the footage from the attack. Look at what the human guards did today. They had multiple opportunities to flee. The mercenaries weren't specifically targeting them. They could have escaped and left us to our fate. But they didn't even consider it. Their first instinct was to protect, not themselves, us. The chamber was silent as everyone watched the footage again, seeing it from this new perspective. I believe, Pelmara said, that humanity's capacity for violence is matched only by their capacity for compassion, and they have made a conscious choice to develop the latter. That is what makes them remarkable. She sat down. Several delegates were nodding. Others were wiping away what might have been tears, though it was hard to tell with some species. Grunath stood. The Korthan Empire wishes to make a statement. We initially opposed humanity's admission to the Council. We believed they would be aggressive competitors. But we have learned something important. Humans understand strength. They respect it, but they don't worship it. They know when to use force and when to show mercy. This is wisdom we can learn from. The Korthan Empire withdraws all opposition to the human treaty. Furthermore, we request a cultural exchange program. We wish to learn from human combat instructors. That caused surprised murmurs. The Korthans were known as the galaxy's premier warriors. For them to ask to learn from someone else was unprecedented. One by one, other delegates stood to speak. The Vrelians, who had lost a delegate to injury in the attack, thanked the humans for protecting them. The small, peaceful Tenari species said they felt safer knowing humans would be on the council. Even the crystalline Sharix, who rarely spoke, expressed their approval. Finally, Vextra looked at Ambassador Daywan. Do you have anything you wish to say before we vote? Daywan stood slowly. He looked tired. It had been a long, stressful day, but his voice was strong. Counselors, I want to be honest with you. Humanity is not perfect. We've made terrible mistakes. We've fought brutal wars. We've hurt each other and damaged our own world. We carry the scars of our history. He gestured to his guards. These people behind me. They're trained to fight because we had to learn to fight. Our world demanded it. Our history demanded it. But we're trying to move beyond that. We're trying to be better than what we were. He paused, gathering his thoughts. Someone asked me earlier if we bring weapons to diplomatic meetings. The answer is no. Not because we're arrogant. Not because we think we're invincible. But because we want to prove, to ourselves as much as to you, that we can exist without violence being our first choice. Our guards don't carry guns because we're trying to show that there's another way. That strength can be used for protection instead of aggression. That power can be paired with restraint. He looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of various delegates. If you accept us into the council, we won't be perfect members. We'll make mistakes. We'll have cultural misunderstandings. We'll probably frustrate you sometimes, but we will always try to do what's right. We will protect the weak. We will stand against threats, and we will never stop trying to be better than we were yesterday. That's all any of us can do, he finished. Try to be better. And we're asking for the chance to try alongside you. He sat down. The chamber was quiet for a moment. Then Vextra stood. The council will now vote on Earth's petition for membership and resource rights. All in favor? 43 hands, claws, tentacles, and other appendages rose into the air. Opposed? None. Abstaining? 4 delegates kept their appendages down. Not opposed, but not ready to commit. The motion passes, Vextra announced. Earth is hereby granted full membership in the Galactic Council, with all associated rights and responsibilities. The chamber erupted in applause. Various species made different sounds of celebration. The humans remained calm, but Minsu noticed Daywan's hands were shaking slightly. Relief. After the formal session ended, many delegates approached the human delegation. They wanted to talk, to ask questions, to request various forms of cooperation. Grunath approached Minsu. I meant what I said about the training exchange. Would you be interested in teaching some of our warriors? Minsu thought about it. I would need approval from my government. But personally, I'd be honored. What would you teach us? Not just combat techniques, Minsu said. Anyone can learn to throw a punch. The hard part is learning when not to throw it, when to talk instead of fight, when to protect instead of attack. That's what I'd want to teach. Grunath nodded slowly. I think our warriors need to learn this. We're very good at fighting. Perhaps too good. We've forgotten there are other options. Thralex approached the group. Ambassador, I have a request. The Council's security forces need improvement. Today proved that. Would humanity be willing to send advisors to help us update our protocols? I think we could arrange something, Day One said. I specifically request your guards, Thralex said. I want to understand their methods, how they think, how they respond to threats. We're not special, Sun-Hee said quietly. It was rare for her to speak up. Yes, you are, Thralex insisted. I've seen warriors from 100 species. None of them move like you. None of them think like you. You see patterns that others miss. You react before threats fully develop. This is not just training. This is something fundamental about how human brains work. We do have good pattern recognition, Hyojin admitted. Comes from millions of years of avoiding predators. We got good at reading body language, predicting movements, spotting threats. Could you teach this to other species? Thralex asked. Some of it, Minsu said. The physical techniques, yes.